welcome back to the program. I wanted to talk with you about Epstein and Bill Clinton, but since this war with Iran seems to be popping off in just a moment, I'd love to get your take on it. What does it mean for where the country is headed? Clearly, the American First Movement doesn't want more quagmires and more forever wars.
Well, if you remember 2 weeks ago, Trump started evacuating people out of different embassies over the Middle East and was looking like they were going to strike them. But now we know that was to get intelligence to see where the Iranians sent weapons. It was to pick up signals intelligence, probably. This time it looks like they are getting ready to hit because the negotiations have fallen through and Iran is refusing to give up what the West says is its nuclear program. But even people like the founder of Blackwater, who's really smart, Eric Prince, has said he's not a fan of the mullahs, but regime changes is certain, and this could really cause some major problems. But regardless, I'm no fan of the mullahs myself, and so I would like to see them remove that. It is a dictatorship over their people. They're very unpopular. But China has shipped a lot of anti-ship missiles that our experts believe will be able to get through to the aircraft carriers. The question is, can the Iranians forward deploy them enough to get the Gerald R. Ford in the Mediterranean? But the other aircraft carrier is over by Iran and can be hit. And so if Iran does hit the aircraft carrier, we'll go to full war with Iran. And that could potentially lead to World War III because it has a defense deal with China, North Korea, and Russia. So that's really some of the major dangers here. But as you said, the massing of forces there is much bigger than what we saw last year during the little 7-8 day operations we saw between Iran and Israel. So this is a very, very dangerous moment in history. And from all of my sources, it's really up to Trump. Up until the last minute, he could decide to give the order or not give the order. If you remember, we were told 5 or 6 times that we were going to go into Venezuela and that tomorrow would be the day. And that kind of got them to where they were complacent. And then finally, when it did happen, we caught them with their pants down. And of course, the U.S. military, regardless of what you thought of that, did an excellent, really almost perfect job. And so that's what we're looking at right here. This is a big deal.
I'm very sorry for the side quest question, Alex, but it's something that I've dreamed about asking you. What is a discombobulator?
I don't know the specific secret weapon system Trump's talking about. I know that they have a lot of exotic weapons. I could go through some of the theoretical stuff and what we know has been developed over the decades. The information I have on those weapon systems is old, so you can imagine they're much more advanced. But they have kind of a Glock system that's associated with manipulating the time-space field between dimensions. That going back to the first experiments with it with the Germans and then the U.S., that everybody around it really gets sick. It's like the Havana syndrome on steroids. Then there are classic type high-powered sonic weapons that can also make people very, very nauseous. But when you hear the term discombobulate, that means almost like reality's not there. And so this is real sci-fi weaponry. But we're told hydrogen bombs are the most advanced thing, but those were around in the 50s. Theoretically, in the 1890s, Max Planck created the theoretical equations for atomic bombs and then hydrogen bombs. And so the technologies are 30 to 50 years, depending on what group of them advanced. And obviously, it's very secretive. They had, in the early 70s, the B-2 bomber deployed. They didn't declassify it partially until the late 80s. And that, I'm told, is about 5 generations back from what the U.S. military actually has.
Many people have wondered whether the UFO files are kept secret because the UFO technology is simply military technology that's being tested on our people or domestically, and that the federal government has the ability to manipulate time and space. And I say that, Alex, because they straight up, and that's not what this interview is about, but I hope you don't mind this little side quest here. They said that in this astonishing document. Alex, could you grab it? The principal who's in charge of science and technology for the administration, Dr. Alex Krasios is his name. Sounds like straight out Central Casting. He says, no, we have the ability to manipulate time and space with our military tech. What does that mean, Alex? I mean, you just talked about the discombobulator changing reality. We heard from the Venezuelan security guards that they were incapable of even standing when hit with this thing, vomiting blood out of their mouths, blood out of their ears and nose. What I mean, did we use some space age shit on these guys?
Well, there are all sorts of systems. I mean, there are particle beams that you can just hit a building with and it just basically disintegrates. There are, and these are just things we know theoretically that they did develop, and then the rest is classified. So it just goes on and on. And then there's so many civilian uses for these things. I mean, we've had free energy for at least 30 years. It's seen as a disruptive technology, so it's been suppressed. And with Trump, you see the beginning of the rolling out of this, which is great to secure American dominance, but also great for the economy. With all this debt and the rest of it, new innovations being rolled out like this aren't going to be disruptive. It's what's going to save us if it can be deployed in a peaceful way. I mean, imagine what free energy will do. But
yeah,
you see Trump killing the carbon taxes, the Paris Accord that Lord Monckton's analysis, and I've seen other analyses that are similar, would kill about 2 billion people over a decade if they cut basically half the energy in the food. And that was the plan of the Great Reset. So Trump killing that alone, the globalists weren't just going to give us the free energy. They weren't just going to block that. They were going to take away the old system as well. And so Trump is keeping the old system in place as a bridge to the new. Elon Musk has talked about that. And so this is a great thing President Trump's done. In fact, that's why I'm not black-pilled. I mean, I wish they'd do more on Epstein. I wish they'd do more on arrest, more on indictments of the bad guys. But at the end of the day, the globalists are being made irrelevant. We just had the head CEO of the World Economic Forum in the email saying, yes, we're setting up an alternate world government through the Trilateral Commission that Epstein was on, and we're going to transfer the UN power over to us. That was in 2017-18. And then 3 years ago, the UN made the World Economic Forum co-equal for global governance. So I mean, that whole system is being exposed. It's being discredited. The crown jewel of it, the carbon tax and the social credit score that would implement that and track everything we do, that is gone basically. The UN's plan to, quote, cut half the food production. Remember a couple of years ago, John Kerry, we got to get rid of half the farms or people will starve. True oxymoronic stuff here. This is feudalism. This is serfdom. And so all of that, the old system is being shut down. The predatory Great Reset, collapsed civilization, post-industrial world, and Trump's making real moves to bring us into the George Jetson world that's right under our noses.
It's true. My wife's grandmother is visiting us. She's 95 years old, and I have a Tesla, and I love it. And it's a self-driving Tesla. And she sat in it and she's like, "This is the Jetsons." That's what she said. She's never been in one of these things, and we just like self-drove, and we went down the street, got ice cream, and the car drives itself. And she's like, "I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm living to see this. It's the Jetsons." That's what she said.
And all of those technologies aren't evil in and of themselves. It's how they're deployed.
Yeah.
And Musk is saying, have more children and have all this, empower us and use these